Hello everyone, it's NG36B. Wanted to give my ideas for Action Plan 8. If the best data managers are already in an organization, what can we do to identify them? Not definitely a larger problem than what it appears on the surface. DON has a terrible habit of requiring a lot of skills and not necessarily recognizing them. The one that I'm most familiar with is the Aegis BMD sailors. For the longest time, they were not coded correctly, and they were treated just like every other fire controlman out there. Despite the fact that the Navy would spend an awful lot of money, they were the most expensive enlisted rating out there that was not nuclear, and they would leave in large droves, and we had no way of telling when we necessarily had enough Aegis BMD sailors. That has since been fixed, but it was something that I remember directly having to address with my boss and having to find a good solution for it. So for data managers, if we already have them in the organization, how in the heck do we identify them, right? How do we promote people becoming data managers? So a couple of thoughts on that. First way, we got to identify who they are. So we need to really define what a data manager is, and we need to define where we need those data managers at, and then what sort of skill set do they have. I think the best way to do this is with a certification. The best way to probably identify them in the first place is using some sort of test game kind of thing like that. For anybody that saw the movie The Imitation Game, the crossword puzzle that you can do in 10 minutes, right? You know, they put that out there, a couple people come on in and they do another test and there's only a couple people left, and that's exactly the people that Alan Turing wants to work on the German Enigma code breakers. So not sure if that's historically correct, but hey, it actually seems like a pretty good idea. So why don't we do that? We have a test, a way of checking people to see like, hey, do you already have kind of a natural talent for data management? And then a subsequent test by somebody that we know is certified that can kind of weed out, people that maybe, could pass one test but really aren't that good a candidate. And so we have this kind of testing way of like bringing people in, and it's not necessarily something that we're going to require people to go to like a school necessarily, but it's something that we want people to kind of volunteer for, because that's the better way of getting somebody, is somebody that actually wants to do that job. We do need a way to certify them. So if there, and I'm not as familiar with civilian certifications, but if there is a civilian certification for data management that would work, we need to incorporate it in the DON. I apologize for the yawn, it's late over here. If we don't have a certification that exists, then for the Department of Navy, we need to create one. For the Navy, that'll involve likely making a personal qualification system of some kind, which would make sense because then you have something on the books. We also need a way of recognizing them bureaucratically, and that means that we need to have a code. So for officers, there's AQDs and subspecialty codes, additional qualification designations, and subspecialty codes, SSPs. Enlisted have Navy enlistment classifications, NECs, and so we need a code for the active duty side that will distinguish somebody. Otherwise, you may create a billet for a data manager, but if you don't put a code on there, the detailer is going to detail anybody they want over there, and they're going to detail it based on grade, and that'll be about it. And so you don't want that. You really want to have a code that sets somebody apart. It will make it a pain in the butt when you don't have a lot of people to fill it, and the detailers will struggle with it a little bit at first. But if you don't have that code in there, you are going to cause problems further on down the road. We need to decide where we want these people at. So I'm thinking initially we want them on our large staffs. You want them on the staffs because that's really where, like, the Navy staff is where this data is going to reside at. However, the Navy operates in carrier strike groups. That's what we do when we go to sea. And likely you need to focus on having these data managers at the 1-star commands. My concern is that data managers will start off at 3 and 4-star commands, and the bulk of data that's created that really needs active management is likely more at the carrier strike group in the individual unit level. And I think you get a lot more bang for your buck by putting people down there first. And then after they get experience with that, you then start to add billets to the 3 and 4 star staffs. It's something that is going to be counter to what the Navy will want because 3 and 4 star staffs get what they want first. But it's something that I think if you do it correctly, if you do it starting at the unit levels and then you let it go flow up from there, you'll actually get better data managers in the future. You also, lastly, you need a way to compensate people for it. It's not if we want to identify people from our population from that we already have, then you need a way of promoting people to actually do that. I can tell you that there are schools and things out there that Navy officers and Navy enlisted will shy away from because it pigeonholes them. So we don't want data managers to become that. We don't want the certification to be something that nobody pursues because, oh, heaven forbid, they're going to get a crappy billet. So we need a way of compensating them. There is a special duty pay, SDP, that already exists that you could use to pay them extra. That is always a good promotion. You can make the billets career enhancing. That would require talking to the different communities and making sure that the billet types are put on there a list of desired things for promotion, things that the community will look helpful on. And since that guidance is ultimately signed off by the Department of the Navy, by the Secretary, so that gives you, if you have secretarial support for that, if you have Secretary of Navy support that this is a real issue, he can insist that that is listed on there on a certain number of communities, and that would help the cause. So those are my ideas for this action plan, and please let me know what you think in the comments.